we are. We are doing this from Zoom because I'm looking at this guy and he is on his tour bus. Yeah. Where are you? What town are you in right now?
We're in Texas. We're doing 3 shows, because we live here. We're from Texas.
Right.
And so we played a show at the Houston Rodeo last night. And then tonight we're doing a show in College Station, Texas at, the big honky tonk here. It's one of those places. This was like our first time to ever sell out a venue. Was here in
when back in the day.
In our career, it was we thought we hit it back in that was like 2004 or 5 or something. And it was the first time we had ever sold out like a big venue. It was right here in College Station. So we like to come back every once in a while. It's funny because this is our second time to play here since going back out on the road from COVID. The everything kind of opened back up here in Texas. And so we played a show here at this venue, and it was kind of our first show back, and it was supposed to be acoustic, but we were like, no, we're setting everything up. It's going to be, because it's a big room. We're setting everything up. We needed to play a big show.
You can't do acoustic in small rooms. You can't. In big rooms, you can't do that. So for those of you haven't caught on yet, this is the lead singer of the Eli Young Band. Yes, the Eli Young Band, who are multi-platinum selling band. Crazy Girl. Even if it breaks your heart. Love ain't.
Yeah,
I fucking love that. I fucking love ain't, man. And Crazy Girl, good Lord. That got me into that actually got me into you guys. Was Crazy Girl.
I appreciate that. Well, Crazy Girl was that was the song that broke us. I mean, literally in every sense of the words, it was a big one for us. As an artist, you just cross your fingers, that you have one that pushes you over the line and changes everything for you. And everything kind of sparked with that song. All the stars aligned. It was the perfect explosion of everything.
I love that song. I loved all the number one hits, but I love Always a Love Song.
Oh yeah, man.
I love that song.
Yeah, that was our first top 10. And then it went to 10 and then died, but it did good for us. Other than that,
hey, that's a big feat getting the top 10.
It was a big deal. Obviously, Crazy Girl was our first number 1, but Love Songs was kind of one of the ones that it put us on the map.
Wow. So how you guys been doing everything? How's everything doing? New music's out. They have a new song out called Love Talking. I just listened to it this morning. And it's a jam. It's a bop. It's one of those where it's like, holy shit, this is the Eli Young Band is back, baby.
Man, we're so excited about this one. The last 2 years have been tough for everyone. Right. I mean, I know, but in this industry, our industry completely shut down, and we all had to reorganize, figure out, well, what are we gonna do? There's a piece of me, we were scared. We were trying to figure out how are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to pay our crew and employees? Because they have families too, And so it was a stressful, scary time, but we had a lot to figure out. But me personally, I hit the ground running when it came to the creative side of me. I think that I needed the outlet. So obviously being home with my family and having all that time was irreplaceable and priceless. But when I was home, I just hit the ground running as far as writing songs, and I wrote over 100 songs, and Love Talking was one of them. And we're pumped that some of them are actually going to get out there now.
Did your family get sick and tired of you being home? Like, because they get it's like you're ruining the routine of life here because you're normally on the road. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I thought that it was gonna be a lot like that. Over the years, obviously, we knew there was my wife and my daughter, because she's old enough, when COVID started. She remembers everything before. My son, he's 3. So he, the last couple of years, he knew nothing but me being home all the time. So now going back out on the road, it's a little bit different for
Different ball
him.
game for him.
But I think because he was so young, all the schedules, everything was kind of such a mess, and then my daughter was, at school at home, and so everything was kind of being, you know, reworked anyway.
Right.
But I will say that it was really a priceless time for us. It was that a reset button, I think, in so many ways, that I personally needed, and I think the band needed, and we needed with our families to kind of remember how lucky we are to have the jobs we have.
Right. It's made everyone grateful. Obviously, this last 2 years has been hell in a way, but it's definitely made everyone like kind of open their eyes and be grateful for what they have and grateful for the time they have here. So like what lesson did you learn? Because this I pride life in like learning, and there's a lesson to be learned in everything that we have, everything that we go through, or whatever. And everything happens for a reason.
Right.
So what, obviously, because you had time to sit down, you had time what did you learn about yourself that you didn't realize, you didn't know, you're like, oh shit, kind of thing during this whole especially with writing, like what did you learn about yourself, and how do you come up with the new ideas that you have for writing?
I've always kind of been this, you know, I'm an introvert that tries to be an extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming back out of that was difficult for me, because I got so used to really trying to push outside of that box
Right.
for so long, but it was so easy to stay there for so long during COVID. So I did learn, like, that's a bigger battle than I ever realized. And then also, self-doubt, like going in and being creative, and I learned so much about my equipment and how to record at home over that time period, that I just thought I can never learn how to really do this. And I wasn't that I necessarily didn't think that I had the talent to be able to know how to work the compression and the BS that goes along, all the doohickeys that
Mm-hmm.
you work with
Mm-hmm.
to record stuff at home and use it for writing. It's not that I didn't think I couldn't do it, but it's just the time to be able to sit down and learn. And so, I took myself to school, during that time period, and took advantage of the time. And so I did learn that I still have drive. Sometimes in the music industry, whether it's being jaded or this industry can sometimes feel like it's pulling your soul out of you at moments, and it's like especially after you've been at it for a while, and you've just got to remind yourself, I still love this,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think I found my drive again, and that was really nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've said repeatedly on this podcast with different artists who said something similar to you. Um, this is not, unless you're like a big wig or you're an artist or whatever, like a successful artist, you it's not a money world for you. It's
Oh.
This is a passion industry where it's like you have to keep going and motivate yourself because this is what you love to do. It is a love-hate relationship no matter what. It's stressful as fuck, but it is a
Yeah.
it is a love-hate relationship with the industry. And that's with every industry, but I feel like it's more so with music because it's so cutthroat. Um and it's so political as far as politics being played and things like that. But it's like, and that's part of the game, but that's also the passion that we have where it's like, okay, I want to do this in order to do this, in order to do this, in order to do this. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, so you becoming becoming, you being an introverted person, naturally, and having to really try to be extroverted it's kind of tough. You have, like you said, you have to remember your drive. You have to remember your passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a, if I'm going to be able to go out there and play music, then I've got to overcome those things about me that I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it makes me who I am, but at the end of the day, it's something that I need to overcome, and I realized after COVID, obviously, that it's still a pretty large obstacle.
Right.
Even at, as you get older, we've been in this industry. We've been a band for over 20 years now. Obviously in the industry and knee deep in the industry is a lot less time, because we started, as a garage band, and it took us a lot of years to get to a successful point. But I will say that in country music, I know you're talking about politically and the game and all that.
Right.
I will say, and I've experienced genres outside of country a little bit, and had a little taste of it. But I do feel like it's a lot less of that in country music.
Yeah.
There are a lot of very genuine people in country music that really have that passion.
Yeah.
And that comes through. And so I know that there are some moments of politics and cutthroatness, but luckily we have been so fortunate to have surrounded ourselves with people that care about us, and we care about them. And being there for each other in this industry, you try to make sure that you are a devoted person and colleague,
and I say that, and I don't say that in the mean way. I say it in a way.
Oh, no, I didn't take it that way.
Yeah. Like we are very. We're also this, especially country music. Country music is it's a family. Like we could, it's one of those where it's like we can fight within the family and argue within the family, but the moment that someone outside the family tries to fuck with us, we're all supporting each other no matter what. And that's I mean, we're a family, and so it's tough to get into that family, but once you're in, damn it, you're in. Like, we got your back, and I think that's been a support with. I've seen the support of your fans and your fan bases, like, because country music, I believe, has the best fan base there is. They're very loyal, and you guys have literally kicked ass, and your fan base has constantly grown, especially outside of Texas. You guys started in Texas, so it's like, you get a lot of artists. I wouldn't say a lot of artists, but there's just, I know that there's been artists in the past where people were like, oh, Texas artists, it's like, oh, they went mainstream. People went mainstream, and it's like, oh, we don't like them anymore because they went mainstream. But it's like, no, it doesn't matter about being mainstream. The music is still the same. The music is still good, and the music will all so therefore their fan base is going to always still be there. That's kind of how it is. It's country music, fans included. It's a big fucking family.
I mean, and that whole, it's tough to try to have a conversation about the sellout thing, because you can't explain kind of what you go through when you do sign a deal, because you want to continue doing this and you want to have a career, and so you want to continue growing, you want to continue making either better music or creatively. As artists, you just get bored and you want to try new things. You want to try this, you want to try that. We've been lucky and fortunate to always have creative control, and with the whole being successful in mind, like we wanted that. We always wanted that,
right, from
day one of starting the band. And so I do feel like we caught a lot less slack when we cut our first major label album, because we never talked any trash, and we never, I guess, lit that fire, if you know what I mean, where we said, we're gonna play here forever, and that's our plan. We always wanted to take over the world. Our goals were always Madison Square Garden, like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
That's always been and that's the goal for everybody. It's like you want to get to the top of the game. You want to get to the top of the mountain wherever you go, and it's like that's that should be everyone's goal. And I think people will realize that nowadays, especially, people have realized that, and people have become more supportive for artists who do that. Because you get a lot of people, you get a lot of fans, and this is not just you, but you get a lot of fans who say, "Oh, when this person got a label deal, then all of a sudden their music changed. The music was so much better when they didn't have a label." Then it's like, no, they just grew as a person. They just grew creatively. They just like it's a whole different ball game. Like you just, that's really what it is. It's like you just grow as a person, and you want to, like you said, you want to try new things, and that is fine. I think people need to understand that as well. That it's okay to try new things.
Yeah, and I can't speak to everybody's story, but I know I can speak to mine, and I know that the four of us, Jet Black and Jealous was our first major, label album, and nowadays like that one is seen as just as grassrootsy as our level album before that. So I think that the new stuff, I think a lot of people are hearing that that organic feel. Obviously we tried some new things with some of our, like our Fingerprints record, and we put out that Turn It On EP that we put on before that. We were trying some new things, but we also realized that was fun to do for a second. But this new album, there's a lot of space in it, and it feels organic, and it feels kind of a little bit like that older stuff, in a way of not having to fill every little space. You know what I mean?
So how did you guys? What was the formula, and what was the plan on what songs were going on this next album?
Well, we're not really a formula plan kind of band. There was we had written so many songs over 2020, and then we went into the studio in the early spring of 2021 to record the album. But we had so much music, and I was really writing a lot of different types of music, as far as different types of plans, because I knew I was writing a lot, and I said, it's going to take us a while to cut all this stuff. And so I started really trying to stretch and maybe think about some different types of projects that we might have coming up. This one we kind of wanted to take in that open, organic, old rock kind of feel that we're so known for, right. And so, and I think we did, we found a good place for this album. We worked with two new producers, Eric Argis, who is a rock guy, and Jimmy Robbins, who is one of the best songwriters in town. And I was writing with both of them a lot over 2020, and then I actually had no idea that Eric was a part of Jimmy's company. It's just one of those things that songwriters kind of move around to different companies all the time, and so I don't always remember who's with what company, and so I didn't know that they that Eric was writing with Jimmy, because they're both producers, and so Jimmy said, hey, we've got an idea. Eric and I were talking about, I know that y'all are looking for producers right now to cut the next record. And I fell in love with the idea right away, because they were two of the guys that I was making sure I was writing with a lot, COVID. And it just turned out so good, man. They're both so talented, and I think that they pulled the best out of the four of us. It was so easy, probably the funnest time that we've had in the studio in a long time, with no stress. Just we went in and had a good time, and something really great came out of it.
That's amazing, because when you have something special, a lot of artists stay with the same writers over and over again. That's normally because something special keeps coming out of those rights. So it's like you want to stay in that position as much as possible and keep that feeling going as much as possible. So for them to be two guys that you have you make sure to write a lot with, clearly something came out special with it, because clearly it's working.
Yeah, so far so good. And I think Love Talking is going to be the perfect introduction to the next chapter. This song sounds like Eli Young Band, but it's also something completely different than anything we've ever done. And it's kind of funny because it is so different, and it's this whole new dynamic for us, but there's something about it that just sounds exactly like what we would do,
right.
you know?
Right.
And a lot of folks have said this kind of sounds like your older stuff, which I'll honestly say that's not something we did on purpose. I think that just happened organically, you know?
And that's why I said, I'm like, oh, that's why I said at the beginning of the podcast, Eli Young Man is back. Because,
I like that.
because that's I mean, that's what it was. And that's what I meant by that, because it does definitely sound like, you know, it sounds like something that you guys should do back in the day. Vintage Eli Young Band is what it sounds like. You know, that sound that everyone loved you for to begin with, you know. So that's pretty fucking cool and pretty fucking amazing. Have you guys named the album yet?
Well, we tend to be pretty predictable. So we actually had decided that the album was going to be called Love Talking prior to picking the single, but then it ended up being the first single. So as predictable as it is, the name of the album is going to be Love Talking. So, hey, you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get the attention.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I was really creative over 2020 and 2021, and it got to the point of naming the record, and well, we're just
like, you know what? It was like, no, what? Fuck it, I'm just gonna go with one of the songs.
Yeah. So, which is something that we've done pretty consistently. That's kind of our MO.
I mean, that's amazing. When is it coming out?
Well, we're hoping this summer.
This summer.
So that's the goal. I know that they've talked about some dates, but
gotcha.
It'll be summer.
So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at, because we talked before we started recording, but we talked about how I've seen you guys live and tour, you know, over 10 years ago now at this point. I'm old. Jesus Christ, I'm old.
I'm with you. I'm feeling it.
I'm old, man. But like so you've been on tour with the Kenny Chesneys, you've been on tour with the Rascal Flatts and the Tim McGraws and Toby Keith and the Darius Ruckers. Who have you not been on tour with that you would love to go on tour with right now?
Oh man, there's so many. I love Keith Urban. He's always been.
Y'all haven't been on tour with Keith Urban yet?
No, he's the only one. Now we've played shows with Keith and his band, and some of his guys in his band have actually played on our records. But we love Keith Urban. We always have, and so we'd like to do a tour at some point with Keith. You know, but we've been so lucky to play with so many artists. We love Zach Brown Band, you know, like we'd love to do a tour with them. We've played shows together, but we've never done a tour together.
I would love to see a song with you guys together too.
Yeah, it would be nice. I like your ideas.
I would love. Could you imagine? Well, first of all, I can imagine that at a CMA and there'd be way too many people on the damn stage. There'd be way too many people on the stage.
Well, at least it's only 4 of us, you know, like
there's 15 of them.
Yeah. We've always stuck to that garage band, 4 guys thing, you know. Right. So now, but you know, over the course of the years, you know, our longtime auxiliary player that Cale Richardson, he played guitars and all the other stuff and piano and organ and sang. And he, right before COVID, he was leaving to go do his solo thing, and then COVID hit. But then coming back after COVID, we've kind of, everything has been so unpredictable. We've kind of kept it the 4 of us until everything kind of solidifies for a minute. What's
been the hardest thing for you guys to get through together in this business? because you have bands that bands that fight. I'm sure you guys are brothers, so I'm sure you guys fight over a lot of decisions, or not a lot of decisions, but some decisions are made, and you guys just fight over it. It's like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous, kind of thing. So what kind every band goes through it. So what's been the hardest struggle that you guys have gotten through with each other in this career?
Cover songs. You think I'm lying. You think I'm lying, but and it does sound like it should be a joke, but we have weathered so many storms together personally,
Right.
in our personal lives as well as our career. I mean, everything is this constant up and down. One day you're on everybody's radar, the next day you're not. And we have chosen to weather all those storms together, and I mean, we still like each other. I think that the break that we had over 2020 was much needed, because I think that we have come back with such a deep appreciation of each other as friends, family, and as
Right.
colleagues, as band, as members of this band. There's such a deeper appreciation of each other, and that has been really great. But our biggest arguments were always over cover songs. It is the funniest thing, because and that's probably why we've created something that's special, is that we feel that we kind of came from 4 different places musically,
right,
and we kind of just brought all this together somewhere here in the middle, and when it comes down to choosing the cover songs, we we just had some big knockout, drag out arguments early on in the band.
Over cover songs though.
I know, right? And especially back then, that was early on, like when the clubs would ask you to play 4 hours worth of music. We were at a restaurant last night, and there's this singer that he's on guitar, and he's playing at this this pop-up steakhouse that they do at the Houston Rodeo, and we're playing, and this guy, like an hour and a half into dinner, and he's singing his butt off, man. He just sounds so good. He's got this upper range, it's killer, but he was an hour and a half in, hasn't taken a break, which that's normal, but he was probably going to go another 4 hours. I remember back then, I mean, there's no wonder, like there was a certain point where it was like, I got to start taking care of my voice, like, because I need like recovery time. After you play and sing, you sing for 4 hours straight, night after night, 5 nights a week, it starts to wear on you.
So that you've brought a question in my head now about that, because now obviously that's kind of what Nashville is about here. You go downtown Broadway or even Midtown, you have people who play 4-hour sets 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 days a week. What's your advice for those guys who are trying to get out of that routine and trying to actually I wouldn't say I'm not saying that they don't get taken seriously, but to go from just not being the person who just plays at the bars and want to go somewhere else to start, excelling and propelling their career as an artist rather than just playing downtown, because obviously the money downtown Nashville is good, clearly, depending on the night and shift. But what would be your advice to someone trying to get out of that rim and routine for that?
I don't know. Getting out of that routine, it's tough for us because we were in Texas, right. And there was an appreciation for originality in Texas that nurtured us as musicians and as artists. It was just there was such fertile ground down here when it came to being able to make your own music and mix it in with the cover songs as you slowly transitioned out of
Right.
The 4-hour cover band. So that's what we did. So the only piece of advice that I guess I could really give is to write as many songs as you can, and then, you know, when you have your best ones, start playing them, and then hopefully the fans, like, they start transitioning to loving you and your songs versus you and other people's songs, you know.
Right.
And so, but you know, I've never been the kind of artist that's like, you have to write all your songs and they have to be, you know, like, I think that every artist should do what they feel is best for them,
right,
you know, and stay true to themselves, and then the fans will appreciate that, and should, because you're being true to yourself. And that's you know, the going back to the sellout thing, it's like, you can call anyone a sellout all you want, but as long as they're being true to themselves and not lying to themselves about who they are, then you can't blame them.
Right. And that's right. That's true, because it's just being them or being them. You have to unapologetically be you.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand that.
I mean, there's some people that should maybe refrain from being unapologetic themselves. But I will say that there's a lot of truth to that, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, that's what country music is about. Country music is really about realness and being real. You know, we pride ourselves in being the most realist genre there is, because we say shit that really matter to us, and we wear our heart. Doesn't matter how much of a badass you think we are, we wear our hearts on our sleeves.
Yeah, I tend to put myself in a vulnerable situation a lot when it comes to music. I think especially over 2020. I mean, there was so much emotion about, you know, throwing your hands up in certain moments of, like, you know, I don't know what to do.
Right.
I feel like I've always been able to weather every storm, and I feel like I've been able to adapt and make, put together a new plan. But, you know, summer of 2020, it was a whole lot of throwing your hands up and saying, I don't know. Because the thing is, with a band like us, there's 4 of us in this band. You know, we're not Kenny Chesney. We're not, the stadium act. You know, we go out and we play to make a living. You know, that is what we do. And we don't come home, millionaires every day, like, that's not who we are. And yeah, like, so it was a scary time for us as artists and as a band. And so, there was this vulnerable feeling that you had to get over. And there were a lot of songs that got written in that vein over 2020. One of them ended up on the record, and it's a song called "Tell Me It Is," and I really feel like it really hit close to home for me. I think because it was that moment of vulnerability where it's like, man, telling your wife, it's like, babe, you have to take it from here, because I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Wow. Tell me it's going to be all right, So I think that there was a lot of vulnerability that came out in songwriting over 2020. I think for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, for sure. I mean, come on. I mean, because you have a lot of artists who probably went through depression through that, because they're so used to being on the stage. And so I know for a fact some people would, a couple other friends might have, they used to be on the road all the time and be on the stage. And the moment that everything shut down, it's like the first 6 months they were depressed. And it's like, you go through that stuff. We're human beings as well. And I think people have, in even ourselves, have a tendency to forget that we're still humans. We're we're not just superheroes and have superpowers like we think we are on stage. You know, we're still human being. We're still, you know, that person, that dad or that husband, you know, that goes through shit in the real world.
Yeah, that confidence like that you try to display up on stage is not something, it's not real.
Right.
You go up there and you give all of yourself, you know, and be, you know, show them this huge entertaining Mike Eli of the Eli Young Band, and it's not, you know, we don't, I think most artists feel this way. We don't always have that confidence. But like you said a minute ago, like so many of us, that's such a big part of who we are.
Right.
And when we don't get up on stage, you know, I mean, I will say that getting back on stage was tough for me. There was an anxiety, a level of anxiety that I hadn't felt in a really long time.
You just answered my next question, because I was going to ask because being an introvert, how nerve-wracking was it getting back on?
Yeah, I mean, it was, there was a brand new level of anxiety that I think that, you know, and I think I'm still kind of working with that, you know. Eventually, you know, it'll get easier, but after you don't play for so long and have the normalcy of what the shows are, and I mean, even now the shows are all different, and you know, we're still working our way out, obviously, of the pandemic. You know, and that's going to take some time, but you know, every show is different, and there's not necessarily a consistency to the venues and to every part of the show. You go to some places and they're still at half capacity or something like that, and you know, you're still learning how to do it again, you know, in every way.
Yeah, Lord, that's life. That's how we are. That's how our artists are. It's an adrenaline confidence is what I call it.
Yeah, I mean, and you love the adrenaline.
You love the adrenaline. It's a drug. Unfortunately, it's an addiction that you can't give up. That's why you have, you know, people like the Rolling Stones still going on the freaking tour and staying, because it's being on that stage. It's a drug.
Yeah,
it's a drug.
I don't think there will ever come a day where I won't want that. You know,
exactly.
You know, I don't think you necessarily ever retire from music. I think you just play a little less and do a little more of
and cherish parts. And cherish the shows that you get.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Well, Mike, I want to thank you for taking time, because you were on the road for this. I love the song "Love Talking," and I hope everyone goes fucking stream it, because if you don't, I'm gonna slap you. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But seriously,
I appreciate it.
I love this conversation. This has been a great conversation. Let's do it again. Next time we'll do it in person. I'll come to Texas. I don't give a shit. I'll do that.
I would love it, man. Absolutely. I've got a whole setup in my studio at home where we can easily do it.
Yeah, next time I'll come down there. I'll come to Texas. I've only been in Texas once. It was for 24 hours, so
yeah,
it's okay. We'll make it.
You're missing out, man.
I'm missing out. Here's the thing. The issue is that I'm an Eagles fan, and I don't go anywhere near Dallas. That's the issue. I try not to go anywhere near Dallas.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Dallas is tough. Driving through Dallas is tough. And obviously, we live in the suburbs, so
right.
So you wouldn't necessarily have to drive through Dallas proper.
All right, then I can do that. Yeah. As long as I don't see the stadium, I'm good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, it was good talking to you, Marcus. I appreciate it, bro.
No problem, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. This has been another episode of Smoking Section Podcast. Make sure you guys go like everything that we do as far as YouTube. This will be on YouTube. I promise you, it will be on YouTube. But go and check us out. Go and check Eli Young Band out. If you haven't heard from them or haven't heard them at all, go listen to this shit. I promise you, you will not forget it. I promise you.